Oh, good morning, everybody. Here's another classic, and I don't know how does my mother put it. Sarcasm is the lowest form of wit. Now, I don't know how I'm going to restrain myself from being sarcastic, facetious, or ironic in this video, but a senior Suidlander, very senior Suidlander, was up in Johannesburg on business. He's got the licenses, the permits, whatever, in the past few days. And he phoned me on his way home yesterday, and he said to me, Simon, I don't understand. It's almost as if in Johannesburg they're not observing the lockdown. I said to him, you are too right. I went with my son to a shop the other day, and they were inflating party balloons, party decorations with helium. I addressed this in another video. The flower seller had been trading throughout the lockdown. Mines had been shut down. Mines were not an essential service. But flower selling was an essential service to the welfare of the state. If you go to Outdoor Warehouse, you cannot buy those stackable black crates. Some people call them ammo crates. Obviously, they're not real ammunition crates. Those stackable black crates, you cannot buy them at Outdoor Warehouse, but you can buy them across the road at Westpac. And literally, not even across the road, around the corner at Macro. It's such a joke, it's beyond your imagination. It's such a joke. We all already know this, and perhaps I'm, saying something that doesn't have to be repeated, but in experiencing it over and over and over again, I drive past a local township called Zandspruit quite often. And I drove past there 2 or 3 times yesterday. I was slightly lost looking for the entranceway. It's kind of, the hidden entranceway to a business. And hair braiding, horsehair extensions. Hair from Indian women in India sold in South Africa for hair extensions. Plaiting Indian women's hair into your hair. This is an essential service. This is vital to the welfare of the nation. I put out a video not so long ago on my one group. It's called Simon's News Network, although I wish it wasn't. International news group, where I walked through a shopping center just not far from here. Let's call it maybe 6 kilometers. 5 kilometers. And the beauty shop was open. And so I know some of the local characters, and recently I drove past one of the guys, and there was an ambulance there on the corner, and he was at the ambulance, and so I went into the Checkers and came out of the Checkers and saw him, standing now on the corner away from the ambulance. The ambulance had left. So to him, what's the story? Why were you at the ambulance? Did you get hurt? And he said to me, no. One of his fellows, one of his chums, was in the ambulance, and he was just kind of signing for him as a nearest living relative, or not next of kin, but you know what I mean. And the ambulance personnel, the paramedics, this guy had just flaked out. He'd just fainted. He'd collapsed. So they called the ambulance. The ambulance said that he collapsed from starvation. He's starving. Not just hungry, starving. Starving. People cannot render basic services like washing cars, but they can sell flowers and pump party balloons. And let me say this because it can be justified, it can be defended. the cigarette brand most widely available during this shutdown, by casual observation and according to every black market cigarette seller, is a brand manufactured by amalgamated tobacco manufacturers. Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma's ex-husband's firstborn son's tobacco company. And you still have people like Adrian Basson and Naspers and Die Burger and Die Beeld and Rapport and the Mercury and the Daily News and the Sunday Tribune who can't see it. How is it possible? They make these tepid, lukewarm, tentative, slightly hesitant criticisms of the government and of the mainstream narrative only when there's such a preponderance of evidence that they have to be seen to do it. When social media and the good quality channels on YouTube and BitChute and so on are screaming so loudly from the rooftops that everything that the mainstream media is selling is a lie, that the mainstream media has to make a kind of a slight concession to a semi-truth. What is wrong with our people? We know what the answer is. It's intellectualism. You can look it up. I'm just crossing off notes in my notebook here. You can look it up on YouTube. Professor Edward Dutton, Spiteful Mutants. If you search that on YouTube, Professor Edward Dutton, Spiteful Mutants, you will see why it is that our race and our people particularly have become especially mentally weak or morally weak, or let's say spiritually weak, at that nexus between morality and intelligence, where how much you know, no matter how wrong it is more important than what you know. In other words, the quality of your knowledge, your wisdom, perhaps. It's sad. It's very, very sad to see our people fall so low and permit themselves to be dominated by peers who have fallen even lower. Seeing us permit people like, I don't know, name any newspaper editor, to control our thinking. Very sad.